It's just today. 2:35.
Good evening. It's 5:30. We'll start the meeting shortly. We'll start the meeting now. Good evening to those present and to those that are watching us live. I'm going to give a special welcoming shout out to former Mayor Dan Collister. Kelly and I had an opportunity to run into Dan this weekend, and recognizing that the cocktail hour is at 5 and we're at 5:30, I hope he's finished his cocktail. But I told him that we live streamed these meetings, and he was impressed that we did. And then took the opportunity to say he's been through the candidate profiles, and he thought that Gates Mills is in for a very good future. Thought that there were a lot of good qualified people. They showed an interest in the right kind of things. Dan isn't a resident of the village anymore, so he won't vote. But it was certainly a pleasure at the ripe old age of 97, and the mayor 4 or 5 terms ago to have him still involved in watching what we do. So Dan, if you're there, hello and welcome. And we appreciate, by the way, I appreciate your filling out the senior survey as well. So we've got about 150 answers back on the senior survey, which we'll get to shortly. And one of those was Mayor Collister. Okay, with that, roll call, please, Beth.
Anton?
Here.
Broom?
Here.
Deacon?
Here.
Vanесco?
Here.
Press?
Here.
Steinbrink?
Here.
Turner?
Yes.
Thank you. I do want to let you know that Janet has not been here for a few days, and she's not here tonight. She's on a scheduled vacation. And so I have hobbled together this meeting with the crutches of Gene and Robin. So if those of you that may have sent questions off to Janet, she usually gets them back to you in an hour. She's on the West Coast, and she won't be back until Monday, but we'll do the best we can. With that said, the minutes have been presented to you on the August 19th meeting. Just a shout out to Janet and to Beth for compiling the minutes. This was a 3-hour meeting, and I think the minutes, while we have it all taped, captured in the 10 or 15 pages the essence of what was covered, and I think covered fairly. So with that, were there any questions or comments or other comments for Beth on the minutes?
A very small one, Beth. On page 11, the third paragraph from the bottom, first line says, they are here to help. I think what I said was they are eager to help.
I find what you're talking.
Third paragraph up from the bottom.
Okay. It should say they are eager to help.
Eager, yep, simple as that. Thank you.
And one change that I made while doing this, there was a lot of reference to an ordinance 2023-24, and actually it was 34. So I corrected it, and you'll see that throughout. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Broom?
Comments?
Okay. Beth, super job. Yeah.
I move approval.
Second. Thank you, Michael. Any further discussion?
No.
Roll call, please.
Anton?
Here.
Broom?
Yes.
Yes.
Deacon?
Yes.
Vanесco?
Yes.
Press?
Yes.
Steinbrink?
Yes.
Turner?
Yes.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the findings and conclusions of fact for 640 Chagrin River Road. We do not have that document. We have put that on the agenda for the next meeting to present it to council for approval. We do note, though, that there is activity at 640 Chagrin River Road. The foundation was expanded. The front porch foundation was laid. The second floor, that addition that was in the revised plans, has been built. And Mr. Broom told me that as of about 2 hours ago when he drove by, there was siding going up.
Starting to put siding on.
They also have put a roof on over the porch.
Okay. So I think, while the timing is the timing, the end result's going to be a completed house. And good to see the construction sign up front, and good to see the pickup trucks, the trailers, and the driveways. Next item is pay ordinance number 1301 in the amount of $501,259.67. Were there any questions on the pay ordinance?
You need a motion?
Not yet? Okay, motion to approve. Yes, thank you, Michael.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Anton,
Yes.
Broom,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Monesco,
Yes.
Press,
Yes.
Steinbrink,
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
Okay, mayor's report. We have quite a few items on there. And because Janet's not here, I penciled in 5 or 6 more that came up in my mind after this got out on Friday afternoon. So a couple items. First of all, we have in our village here on September 21st, this coming weekend, the Foxtrot, which is sponsored by the Gates Mills Elementary School PTC. This is a combination of a 5K run, a fun 1-mile run or walk, and for those little guys, a 50-yard dash. There is a registration for the 5K part of the race. The other elements don't have a registration. Hermes, the professional racing company, is managing this for us. The fee's been paid for by them. Their fee has been paid for by sponsors. Congrats to the Gates Mills Elementary School parent-teacher group for putting together the sponsors. It's on Sunday morning at 9 a.m. There'll be some tents and some sponsors. I think it'll be, if the weather's like this, it'll be a great race. We haven't done this since, I think, 2015, maybe, Chief? 2019, 2015? So about 10 years. So we'll see how we do. Please come if you want to race, walk, or just enjoy the weather. On that point too, I received today, I didn't bring copies, I didn't read the report other than the headlines, but the Mayfield School System has gotten their report card from the state of Ohio. I've been told that the school system is rated 5-star again, and I've been told that the Gates Mills Elementary School is a 5-star elementary school. Thought you'd all be interested in knowing that, given the comments and discussions we've had over the last couple of years.
Great.
Also, just a quick shout out, our Gates Mills residents will be getting a levy renewal postcard that will come out over the next several weeks. As you know, the village can't spend money on either for or against an issue, but it can spend money on informing people on the facts of the issue. So the postcard, which follows all the other postcards we've done here for the years, supports explains the 3.5 mil levy. It's known now as issue 2 on the November 4th ballot. It is a renewal. It's the 7th renewal since the original one in 1996. All the levy proceeds come to the village for village services, and it represents about 10% of our operating income. So we will have that postcard out. I was also pleased to hear that the Improvement Society informed me that they will issue their own postcard, and they will have a point in there about supporting the levy. So theirs would come out in support of renewing the levy. The levy will generate for us 200, nope, that's not right, 616,491 of dollars.
Per year,
Sorry?
per year.
Per year, yes. Okay, senior services, this is encouraging. In front of council's seats are a short summary of the senior services activity that we've had going on. We have had 151 responses received so far. The village has 2,200 residents living in 900 households roughly. So having 151 responses is a pretty darn good percentage. Considering some of those responses, the 151 would be both people living in the house. We think that's a strong turnout. We sent it out both electronically and in the mail. We send it out electronically because a lot of people do things electronically and they like to respond to their surveys that way, but we don't have everyone's email address. So as to not exclude anyone, we also send paper copy, which some people would prefer to provide anyways. Jean and Robin pulled together all the responses into a spreadsheet. I've read every response that came in, including any of the narrative comments. They ranged across the board for we don't need to do anything to why can't we do a lot more? You'd expect that in a survey that's that broad. But and the survey is still open until September 30th, so there's a chance to still get some other responses that we can update. But the thought was that since we were already halfway through September and we had such an overwhelming response, most of it positive, that we should start tabulating it and thinking about what we do about it. There was a lot of interest in following up specifically with those individuals, respondents who said that they could use some help on something and or a willingness to volunteer. So we don't need to wait necessarily for a formal study to be finalized or something to be passed. We can get going and follow up on people that say, I'd like to do the following. We've had a few people that have volunteered to already start leading little groups or mahjong classes or what have you. There was a lot of suggestions about intergenerational and involving youths and volunteer coordinators with the seniors. So this really shouldn't just be a senior service because there could be other elements of the village that could certainly participate and help out with the senior activities. There was an interest in creating meaningful intergenerational things to do, not just time to fill up watching old MASH movies. So we'll see what comes out of some of that creativity. There was an interest in more awareness of what's currently available. We found that there are a lot of things that the village did years ago that have just drifted away. People have passed on, people have moved on to other things. The clubs no longer maybe support that. And so, but when you talk about something to someone, they say, oh, I think we still might do that. And there are some little elements of participation that we could, I think, foster and grow. There was a good discussion on a lockbox program for emergency access. There was actually some confusion. Many people have their keys at the village hall that the police are allowed to use to get into their home with their permission in an emergency. Those are under lock and key, and they require an officer to go down to Village Hall, get the key, bring it back up to someone's home. What we're talking about here is a program that several other communities in the county have already adopted, which is actually a lockbox key on top of that or attached to that person's house. So if, for example, there's a fire alarm and a smoke detector is going off and they've given us permission, then the fire truck, for example, would have the master key on the truck, be able to use that to get in the house, save about 15 minutes of time back and forth. Really good idea that many people, again, had kind of either did not know about or had confused with the police check. So we've got some things there that we can work on and better flush out. Another good point was the need for different channels of outreach. Some people like the pink sheet and rely on that. Some say I read it once a month and then I put it to the side. I can't remember where it is. We have the village website. We have Gates Mills Connect. There's text chains. John Anusco put together something that maybe he'll talk about a little bit later. Maybe there's block captains to kind of, on some of the streets where they kind of were organized by street. So, you know, we need to have different levels and different ways of communication. We can't just rely on one item. Some concern about walkability. There's an interest in having more walking paths, whether those are in the median at Gates Mills Boulevard or other places. There's also a little bit of interest in senior housing and can we do something about looking at that? One that we thought was relatively easy to do is for the village to sponsor community lunches, maybe once a month, and have a rotating group of speakers. Maybe one month it's the mayor talking about the state of the village. Next month could be the police talking about safety issues. Another one could be council members talking about issues that they might have an interest in talking about. Things that could bring together the seniors and others just in this kind of a setting to have a little bit of lunch, a little bit of fellowship, and learn some information. So overall, where we're at, I think, and I say that because I gave a recommendation to the committee and then asked them all to respond back to me if they thought I hadn't summarized the sense well. I'm going to wait for those responses to come back. But there just seems to be general support for contracting with the Community Partnership on Aging for the broad variety of services and activities that they perform. Almost everything that someone has asked for in the survey, this Community Partnership on Aging does. We may not need all those services. Perhaps there's a little bit of an à la carte that we could participate in versus, an all or nothing. But the broadest range of services is already provided for, and there's no need for us to recreate that and be redundant. At the same time, there is a desire to supplement some of those services for things that are Gates Mills-ish. For example, the luncheons I just mentioned. There's emphasis on wellness checks and house checks and community-based outreach. So I guess, council, what I would advise you of is that we're going to put together these recommendations in a document. We'll have a budget estimate of what that's going to cost us for next year. And our goal is to bring that with their recommendation to the October meeting and talk seriously about the services and whether we want to expand what we currently do. David, you were at one or two of the meetings, maybe all of them. I don't know if you want to add to that at all, or anyone else that has an interest in the topic at this point.
Yeah, It was a very good meeting, lots of ideas and an enthusiasm to help people who need help.
Okay.
Be it socialization or safety.
Thanks so much for doing that. This is absolutely fantastic.
We become Chad GBTers. Gene and Robin put the stuff together, the narrative, usually from scratchy notes I give them. And then when they have it done, they hit the magic button and out comes something much simpler with a little bit of graphics and a little organization. So
Good stuff.
thank you, John. Appreciate the content. Okay, so look for that in October. We're going to skip over the sidewalk for a few minutes and cover some other things here. Item C, the 25 road program. To the extent I need to, Chris or Dave can fill this in during their session. But generally, you'll recall that we decided to try to accelerate the road program this year in terms of getting it done. The road program was completed by the end of August. That included particularly Andrews and Hill Creek and some repair work on Colvin. The work on Colvin is certainly not by any means done. It's going to need a total redo next year, but it was in need of some immediate attention. Chris reports that we're about $820,000 spent on an $850,000 budget, so that's positive. Getting done by the end of August, as we are, allows us to get our submissions in for reimbursement, and hopefully we'll get those monies this year yet, which would be part of the goal. It's also good that we're just not trying to repave roads in November, when you wonder what the weather's going to be like. So congrats to Dave and Chris and their teams and their companies on getting this stuff done. We also finished up the what's it called, Road Management Program, RMP? What's the company? What's it called? PMG. We hired PMG 3 or 4 years ago to study all the roads. They did that. The goal was to try to get everything to a fair or a good condition out of failed or poor in some cases. They've gone back and reevaluated all the roads. We've gotten the raw data. This weekend we were parsing through there, trying to correct some things. We'll have that to present to the service committee in the meeting in the next 2 weeks. It looks like all of our roads might be one or two, might be only one that's failed, which is Colvin, and maybe only 2 or 3 that are poor, and all the others would be fair, good, or excellent. Composite score of 70 is kind of what we were shooting for. So we'll see where we get to. We have 47 miles of roads roughly, Dave, Chris. And so I think there's only one mile that's actually a failed road. So more on that. We'll have a formal report to you in October. Encore at Burton Court on October 11th. We are, as you remember, this is our 3rd year as a village of supporting Encore. We have committed a certain dollar amount of soft target of dollars that we would help them raise and build. The October 11th is going to be a by invitation event at Burton Court. The invitations have gone out. It's going to be a revelation or a reveal, I guess, of what the 2026 theme is going to be. It's probably, we're hoping for 50 to 75 people that we hope both appreciate the music, encore type music. And also, while there's no immediate donation required, we hope that they would find the generosity as they look through the fall and the winter months. Gates Mills Estates Drive, item E, reported last meeting that of the 21 homes on Gates Mills Estates Drive, while most, if not all, didn't have any direct water flood damage caused by the rains, there was a lot of yard water retained, and that created quite a bit of a mess. So we analyzed all the 21 homes there. We graded them by green, yellow, red. Green means looks okay, yellow means needs some work, red means got to have some work. And between Chris and Dave and Trevor have attended to all of those. I think as of now, there are only 3 homes that are still listed as yellow and 1 that's listed as red. We have invited all the residents on Gates Mills Estates Drive to a meeting this coming Monday. That was done 2 or 3 weeks ago. I didn't know what kind of progress we made, but we felt we wanted to meet with them to make sure we heard their concerns and that they saw the correction plan. Most of this is work that we've been able to do ourselves in the village. And with it being as extensive as it is, over half the homes, a lot of this is cleaning out culverts and ditches and things like that. The 3 that need work for, we'll huddle with, and then we'll figure out what the cost is. And if we need to come back to council for some dollars or what have you, we'll be there. But I think that's turned out, overall at this point, we seem to think that it turns out pretty positive. Item F, the Humphrey benches. This is a nice collaboration that we were approached to join with Gates Mills Land Conservancy. Many of you know Bonnie Humphrey passed away earlier this year. Bonnie was one of the daughters of Courtney Burton, a longtime village leader and mayor. And Bonnie's daughters wanted to find some way of memorializing the family and such. So we were approached to work with the Land Conservancy on this, and the village contribution is space. We've agreed to use the space that is the downtown park space east of River Road, right next to where the library ends. There's always been some parks, some benches there. The Land Conservancy paid for 2 new benches and for a beautiful plaque that memorializes a bit Bonnie and her appreciation for the space and her legacy back to the Rankin and the Burton families. The Land Conservancy received a $100,000 donation in to further their mission and Bonnie's interest in that topic. We thought that was a real good thing that we could do to show appreciation for the gift. To me, this is all coming to the village, whether it goes in the Conservancy or the Gates Mills Players or the Friends of the Library, the Historical Society. It's all benefiting the village in one way or another. So we're pleased that the benches arrived before the rain and the snow. They're beautiful benches that are up again on the east side, right next to the library. At some time, we're working with Mary Humphrey to find a time that would be some ribbon cutting, if you will, and we just haven't been able to get the schedules together. I think the last thing I have before we get to the sidewalk is the fire engine specs. Tom Robinson, Tom Majeski, old Tom Robinson, can talk about this a little bit during his report, but we did report out to you several months ago that we were using this year to figure out what we needed in terms of fire equipment and new fire engine. Bob Jameson, our assistant chief, has been doing the specs. About 3 months ago, we decided to put a pause on it, thinking that perhaps the new federal administration would back off the standards that it had for electric vehicles, emission standards, and other types of things that seem to be adding 20 or 30% cost to already very expensive engines. There has been no back off on any of those regulations, and indeed, the few truck manufacturers that make the chassis, the trucks, have been already, over the last 2 years, converting their plants to accommodate those kind of vehicles. So we will finalize the specs over the next several weeks. Tom, again, can go through the details with you and bring those to council at some time, hopefully October, so that we could get the approval to go out and determine what the cost would be. We have some order of magnitude numbers that are all low seven figures, but we'll pause on that until we have the specs finalized. Michael?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I suggest we try to find out, get a list of those who are buying new fire engines. And perhaps we could reach out to them and see what they're doing with their old fire engines. Maybe we could fix one up. They're probably more likely to fit our needs because they're more likely to be smaller than the new fire engines they're buying.
So
Maybe we get a much better price that way too.
it's a fair point. We have some experience with that. Tom can comment on that. One of the engines that we have is the old Pepper Pike engine. So there's a whole stream of work to be done on seeing whether we could buy someone else's used one and rebuild it. So thanks for that reminder. Okay. So we're going to talk about the sidewalk for a bit here, and then we're going to cover the two resolutions that are on the agenda that deal with the sidewalk. So when we met last month, we had laid out, and the minutes of the meeting did a great job, I think, laying out the sidewalk project. And had gotten to the point where there was some more information that people were looking for. And so we essentially said, why don't we just keep this on first reading, and we will do the further information that's being asked about, and I'll report back a month later, and we'll take it up at that time. So that's kind of where we're at. The why wasn't what shared? So let me cover this, and we'll cover council's questions, and then we'll take questions from the audience if that's okay, just so we can cover the material that we have. So since our meeting last month, I met with Dr. Barnes, the superintendent of the Mayfield schools, and with Scott Snyder, the treasurer of the school system, in their offices. Part of the concern raised at the last meeting was that do we need a sidewalk along Chagrin River Road going between Colvin and the lower school parking lot? The contribution that the Mayfield school system directed to this project was safety-based. And it was based on the number of feet of the sidewalk that was in the school zone that ran along River Road. The concern of the Mayfield School District was to improve the safety in all their schools. And particularly, they had money put aside at all schools, including the school, the Gates Elementary School. They pointed out the fact that they redid the circular driveway to provide a broader driveway. They moved the front entrance to the school to provide better security for the school. And the sidewalk program is part of that security program and that improvement and safety program they want done. So this is with their support and their additional support in a meeting that I had with them 2 weeks ago. They also offered that if we needed to provide a safer environment by removing the bushes that are at the end of the current sidewalk that frankly create a little bit of a screen, it could be a hazard, that we are welcome as the project goes forward to remove those bushes or do other things that would improve the safety. They also mentioned that the new playground has gone up, and the new playground, and you can see the mulch in the parking lot, the new playground will increase the use of the school, and that use of the school is for everybody, not just for school students during school days. And so they view this as part of a broader plan, and the sidewalk is important for that purpose. I spoke with the principal. She believes that the reason the school children don't use anything right now is there's no safe place to go. Going down Colvin is not a safe route. On the one side, the south side of Colvin, the hedges are 10 or 12 feet tall. They come right to the edge of the road. And it's not until you come up to the driveway that you find a little bit of breathing space. On the north side of that street is Dr. Birnbaum's property. He's got a stone wall, beautiful stone wall there. She essentially said Chagrin River Road is a preferred way to go. We would use that sidewalk and we would bring the kids down to do more things in the village center if we had the sidewalk on River Road. She mentioned the fact that the playground's been built, and that'll bring more traffic. Also mentioned the fact that the school library that they had in the school in a separate classroom is no longer being used that way. The school is now 120 students. They use that library as a classroom now, and the library's been squished into another facility, and that they would use the Cuyahoga County Public Library system in the building if there was a sidewalk built. There was a question from the Capellas, Jared and Ariel, about the sidewalk on their side of the street and the fence and the desire to keep their fence the way it was. Jared and I and Chris, maybe Dave, met a month or so ago by now and redrew the plans to make sure that the fence would be straight. It wouldn't be a jig and a jag. And the plans that we've submitted and the council saw last month had that straight line in there. In addition, since then, we received a note this week that, or last week, that the electric pole, CEI, the pole, would, if needed to be moved, would be moved at no cost to the village. So thank you to Chris Courtney and Dave Biggert for arranging that. So if there was a cost element, that's been taken care of. The safety consultant firm was hired as a result of last meeting. And I'm sorry, as a result and presented at the last meeting. And we took into account their recommendation that the sidewalk cross over closer to the corner of Colvin, taking advantage of the intersection where people are naturally going to pause and look for traffic or people crossing, as opposed to farther north along River Road where there wouldn't be a natural intersection. We also have for and against. We have some people here that will be against it, and we have some that are for it. So primarily what we've covered in the last month is a confirmation that the money, the additional money, well, first of all, the seed money that council approved 3 years ago, which was for a sidewalk program that went to the Gates Mills Elementary School from the village center, is what we contracted for. We also use that exact language or quite similar language to raise money from the Mayfield school system. It's a sidewalk project to the elementary school and to the Friends of the Library. Those donors all are looking for us to fulfill our commitment that we've made. Getting the sidewalk to Colvin Road is not getting it to the school, getting it to the corner. So we have an obligation to fulfill that commitment that we made. With that, I'll pause and take questions or comments from council first. Mike.
Mr. Mayor, since you took the pro, I'll be the devil's advocate and take the con.
I tried to pick both pro and con. I reported what I was asked to.
The project is pretty expensive at over $300,000. My impression.
Not a correct number. We went through that last meeting.
It's right there on the sheet that you passed out this afternoon.
It's $250,000.
304,750.
250,000. Okay, well, go on with your comments. I'll look while you're talking.
The impression I got from what we heard last month was that the primary use that's foreseen for the pedestrian sidewalk would be the summer campers who are only here for 6 weeks. Seems a lot of money to spend to solve a 6-week problem. More important, a lot of the residents, particularly those living on River Road, were against doing this. I think that should be given a significant amount of weight. And finally, from my own perspective, I think it alters the look and feel of the village to go ahead with this project, in particular, the ODOT compliant crossings, which are basically like a walk, don't walk situation you might find in downtown Cleveland, with flashing lights and bells and whistles and everything else. I'm not aware there's ever been an issue of, in the past, of somebody from Gates Mills Elementary or a school, a summer camper having an incident of any kind. I texted 7 people this afternoon, 3 of whom are residents on River Road. I should have gone earlier. I apologize for that. I could only get to 7. I had 6 no's and 1 hell no on whether to go forward with the project. So I'm going to wait and hear what people have to say. We don't have to vote on this till next month, but I'm leaning against.
Let me just clarify the facts. What I passed out to council this morning was a sheet, this evening was a sheet. The amount we requested was 304,750. The amount was granted was 243. The project amount is 250. So let's keep the facts the facts. It's not a
Oh, yeah,
304.
I'm
You
well,
always ask for more than what you get.
I'm well aware of the fact that grants are covering most of the cost, but it's still coming out of taxpayers' money.
I'm not saying it's not, but it's
May
not
not come out of
$300,000, which you
Gates
mentioned
Mills,
last meeting and which I had to correct
still.
you at last meeting. It's not, let's be factual about the issues.
That's
Does
right.
another council member have a question?
The request is 304,750 and the grant is 243. So basically 60,000 to the village. The rest is coming out of other taxpayers,
No,
federal,
the
county,
304
what have you.
Michael, I've said it 3 times. The project is $250,000. We've raised $243,000. The 304 is just what you asked for. When we asked for money, we asked for the county for 211,000. They gave us 157. Okay, then we raised the other.
Well, then I misunderstand your paper, which
It
I might
does-
add was
okay.
put on the table before the meeting and nobody's ever seen it.
I don't know about nobody's ever seen it, but it's meant to provide the facts on it. Let's go to another council person. Thank you, Michael.
Just
David,
Michael and
Scott?
the mayor, I've not read a comment, but Michael, on the last page of that packet is the cost estimate, I think, that the mayor's, I just don't want to see this.
Well, I didn't get through the packet because I didn't find it till I sat down this afternoon.
We'll do it right now.
Okay. I understand that this project has been ongoing, or this project's been ongoing since 2023, and there were plans for this making a bridge and a sidewalk to create more safe path for the students. In fact, it was very a high level overview, and we never really saw any details of what the project would look like until recently. At our last meeting, we had differences of opinion about what the project should be. I hear you saying, Steve, today that the project is the bridge, the crossover to Colvin, and all the way down to the school parking lot. I don't hear that there are options for us to consider, such as a bridge and a sidewalk to whatever it is, I always get the name wrong, Gatewood, and across the street then to Colvin, with the remainder to the school being walking up the street. It was my understanding that school students who go into the village mainly walk down Colvin Road to and cross there, or don't cross there, cross the side street and go down into the village. Obviously, this having the sidewalk all the way down to the school parking lot would allow them to come down the steps into the parking lot and down the street that way. I don't know for a fact that that's what they're going to be doing. And are we, in a way, creating something that's unnecessary by having a sidewalk on that side of the street from Colvin to the school parking lot? My understanding, again, from the school was that that's not the path that the regular students take. Yes, during the summer, the kids go from the camp down to the school parking lot. I'm not sure that all of them would walk on a sidewalk. They probably cross over the old Ohio Bell Telephone building, and right into the parking lot. And I'm not sure that that a sidewalk there is any safer than the grass. There's no curbs and a car could hit them unfortunately on the grass or on the sidewalk. And we're not proposing that that sidewalk is going to be for strollers or wheelchairs or things like that. It's not, if you get to the school parking lot, it's really not accessible to get up to the school. So I'd like to go back to considering portions of this rather than a whole package that we were given.
US Federal Highway Association found that having a sidewalk, you were 88% less likely to have an accident than without a sidewalk. Okay. But I just want to make sure that
Thank you.
it is definitely safer.
John, any further point of view?
You know, I get so frustrated because we are an aging society that is taking away all the ability for us to have mobility access to these places. You know, sidewalks for me growing up were, we didn't have them in Hudson, and now they have them everywhere in Hudson. And when I was in Hudson, we didn't have them, and we're like, my goodness, we don't have, you know, I had 4 kids. So taking a stroller out on a, you know, on our road, we were just on the road, and we had a very, very private road, and yet it was still kind of dangerous. I'm just surprised with, you know, our community, we don't want to have access for mobility, access for, you know, people with strollers, et cetera. I love sidewalks. I don't think they affect the aesthetics at all, but, you know, that's me.
Any other council comments?
Yeah, so, and I brought this up at the last meeting, and again, maybe I'm just a little confused about the need for the flashing signs. I mean, we've got US and Shaker Heights doesn't have that. We've got elementary school in Mayfield. There isn't anything across Lander with flashing signs. The school guards are out there for crossings. We've got St. Francis on Mayfield. And so, I mean, I agree with Michael on the aesthetics that you come in here and there's a 15 or 20 foot painted paint or whatever you want to call it, crosswalk in the middle of the village with a flashing sign. I wonder if there's a way to get around that. I mean, we've got sidewalks on Old Mill in front of the Hunt Club. On the other side with the houses there, they're brick, they're very nice. I think the look of a 4 foot wide concrete sidewalk is probably something that's not in keeping with the character in the village. So I don't know what options we would have to do that. And I tend to agree with Sandra's approach that maybe doing something a little bit more incremental is a better approach on this than doing this all at once. While I understand the need to get the sidewalk down to the parking lot, having something out there with the flashing light just seems, I don't see that elsewhere. I don't know why we would need it here.
Okay, let me ask Chris to think about that while we get other council comments. If that's something that we have discretion to modify and change the width of the sidewalk and the lights, or whether that's required because of a state highway that it crosses. I don't know the answer. Lori, did you have any comments?
Yeah, one community I know of uses flags. They have flags like orange flag, carry across and put it down. It's actually pretty effective. You can really see the flag. So I'm still, Steve, need help really understanding, to Sandra's, and you know, maybe we break it down a little bit, the bridge crossing, which does seem to be a serious safety issue because it's off the road. And I'm looking at the diagrams and I've walked over there. I'm still trying to I'd like to understand, you know, how it's going to work in that area. It looks like there's some fence staging, stuff like that there. I'd love to know what it looks like because it is in a historic district. So if we could get maybe a little bit of detail around that, I think that would be really helpful.
Okay.
It does, I do think it's pretty critical. to?
So the plan would be, of course, you leaving the community center parking lot here, there would be a bridge right over the creek. There are a few evergreens and trees there that would be cut down.
Okay,
We would not touch Jared's and Ariel's fence. It would be on the sidewalk would be on the outside of the fence, so their front yard is not changed inside the fence. Sidewalk would proceed along River Road there. There is a telephone pole and a few trees on the corner. Again, we could either leave the pole or move it. The current drawing is the pole can stay, but if we want to move it, that's an option. You cross Glenwood there, and then you'd cross River Road heading east.
do we have?
We could probably, Chris, could this be a 4-foot sidewalk or 3.5-foot sidewalk? Do we have some options? Okay,
Forward.
Visual folks.
while he's looking, why don't we just keep moving? Scott or David, any comments?
So, we heard some comments from, residents last meeting and, I think got some, provided to us. And some of the residents' comments, I think are good, not all good, but, I think Michael's question is, do we need this or not? And whether we need part of it or we need it at all. And I think on that, it's true that we've not had any incidents, and that's true. And I can put some in out of wood and right now. And I've thought about that, and I thought, well, we haven't really had any incidents, and so do we need it? One comment in one of the residents' things, I mean, some of the things are, but drivers regularly text and drive, and I will say that the world is changing, whether we want it to change or not, it is. And I drive, and every time I drive, and it may be because I have teenage kids and I hate cell phones more than I've ever hated anything right now, that I see people driving around with their faces glued to their phone. I drive that way every day, and I know where I have to let off from 40. There was someone commented that it was 45. It's 40 there. And it used to be 50 speed limit on River. I know where I have to let off so that when I get up to the flashing 25-mile-an-hour sign right there at the crest, the hill on the bridge, that my car will be going 25 miles an hour. And so, and that's pretty far back. It's just about a fixed driveway at the nursery. It's where I let off. The car will naturally roll to 25 miles an hour. So the fact that we haven't had any incidents, well, I think it's strong evidence that we don't have a glaring. I don't know whether that's good fortune or whether it is evidence that there's no safety issue. When you've got cars driving there and people not paying attention, I think the safety issue probably is real. How severe it is, I'm not an expert at. I agree with Craig. I don't think we need to have flashing lights there at all. I think that's good. Now, the question as to whether it's going to, I believe Michael used the phrase that we like to use a lot, is going to change the essential feel of the village. And the village always changes a little bit. There have been a lot of changes. And a lot of times it depends on when you got here, what you believe the essential feel of the village is. Honestly, and I, like Sandra, I wish I'd had known about this earlier, and I wasn't on the council when this first was being discussed. Mayor was the mayor at the time, it's first being discussed. The idea of having the bridge there, to me, just generally speaking, sounded like a fair idea. I thought it was just gonna expand the existing bridge and widen out that, so there would be room to pass. So there's probably a need to do something. And what we do, I think it needs more investigation. This seems like a lot right now. I would say that if we were to do it, that in 4 or 5 years, it wouldn't seem like a lot anymore. If we were to do part of it and then see how that works and then do part of it later. And I don't know how that works with the ARPA money that we have. And I want to be clear, it is ARPA money. It's COVID relief money, I believe it's the ARPA money, and it does have an expiration date on it that we either have to give it back. And if we give it back, it's, Michael, it's not going to go into some investment account at the county and earn money in a conservative way. If we give it back, it's going to get spent the next day on something else. And so, yeah, I think, and then I think we had another comment from the audience that we do also have to take into account the fact that we will have some maintenance costs, and it's a fair comment, because there will be some maintenance costs, concrete breaks and chips and roots grow. We will have some maintenance costs for this, which I thought was a fair comment. You know, many years ago, the site we're sitting on and the building behind us was the train station with the store of the trains that went on the train. And so people that were in the village then would come and say, what we have here now, they'd say, well, you've changed the way the village was. And so the idea is whether this is a positive change, could be a positive change. Would it make it easier to park at the lower school parking lot if you were going to see the players at the community house? Would it make it easier to use that auxiliary parking to do something? We've talked often about post office and what we do if the post office gave up their lease. If we turn that, and it's been, folks, this is not in any kind of plans or anything. This is just talking, that if the post office were to be turned into a restaurant, that'd be, okay, wonderful, but where are you going to put the cars? There's no place to park anybody. We'd have to be parking them on the polo field over. So, I mean, there's probably other advantages and disadvantages to this, but I think we need to hash it out a bit. I agree that flashing signs are good. Right.
Steve, if I may, on the specifics of this project, if I was forced to support all or part of it, I believe in my own head now that the section running from Colvin North to the lower school parking lot is unnecessary. It's the first thing. That's if I was compelled to vote for something positive. I don't see why flashing lights are better than lollipop ladies. Don't school crossings still have people who actually hold a sign when kids need to cross? I mean, that wouldn't, $250,000 would buy a lot of lollipop ladies.
David, did you say lollipop?
That's what we used to call them in England. What do you call them here? What do you call them here?
Crossing guards.
Crossing. But they used to look like a yet lollipop. It said, "Stop, kids." You know, it's the kids.
Yes, yes.
So, and the specifics of this project, there are my thoughts. On a higher level, I know free money is very tempting, but I honestly believe if we're a responsible government, we should only be spending free money if we would be prepared to spend our own. And I'm not sure that we're at that point. Now, you hypothesize that if the money were returned to whomever, they would waste it. We're better than that.
Yes.
And we ought to trust that other people wouldn't waste it and it will be used for perhaps for better purpose than what we have. So I don't believe that free money should compel anything. If you think it's a good idea, you should be prepared to spend your own money. If you get free money, God bless you.
Well, it's not free money, and no one said we're spending free money. The fact that it's not, maybe our direct taxpayers might be confusing to that, but
They're all
is,
grants.
it is,
They're all grants.
it's not free. You know, we competed for those, we were awarded
Yeah,
those.
but it's money which has no cost attached to it.
Sure, it does.
So
It's paid for.
like a bank, it's not a bank loan or anything of that sort. It's a grant. That's my point. The other point is a more broader one. It's a broader one, is that there are lots and lots of safety issues on Chagrin River Road. As we go north from Old Mill, up to the edge of the village, there are all those curves, people going 45 miles an hour. I've seen lots of accidents, actual accidents. Some fatalities have happened on that stretch of road over the last 10 years. And I think if we're spending $250,000, or we're thinking about $250,000 on this, I wonder how far that $250,000 could go to addressing the broader safety issues on Chagrin River Road, particularly where I live on just north of Mayfield Road. So I'm worried about whether this is value for money compared to alternatives. I'm worried about being a little frivolous about granted money. And I think if I were forced to vote on what's on the table right now, I would vote for the bridge, for the lower end, coming down towards the community house. I would vote against the section north going from Colvin up to the school parking lot.
Thank you, appreciate that. Chris, do we have to be, we expect it to be ADA compliant, because that's a good thing, but are we required to do that? If we had some latitude. Okay. And do
Steve,
the ADA requirements speak just to, and maybe we need to take this offline and do some more homework, do the ADA requirements require the flashing lights and those types of things, or are
So
they
there's
more
a-
to the size of the school?
Yeah, there's a combination of standards that are being applied. There's the ADA standards as it relates to slope length, cross slope of the sidewalk, width of the sidewalk. And then there's also ODOT Department of Transportation standards, because this is a state route. So based on those two sets of standards, the sidewalk and the crosswalk have been designed consistent with the ADA and the ODOT standards.
Steve, one last point. On the aesthetics, if we do go ahead with the project, it'd be a lot nicer to do it red brick sidewalk like the Hunt Club, in front of the Hunt Club, than it would to do asphalt paving.
Okay, that's an aesthetic response.
As would have been the case for the path from the post office to the bridge.
I wasn't involved with that.
Well, no, we were.
Well, you're involved in this too, 3 years ago. We find ourselves here today.
So there's one other thing and it's actually what I was leading with, the speed limit. So, the sign slowing to 25 miles an hour, on the map of this, it appears it's just north of the bridge, the proposed new bridge, where that sign is, just as you're coming up the bridge. One thought I had, and I understand that it's a state route and there are people like Chris and Dave know this much better than I do. Part of me is thinking, can't we push that 25-mile-an-hour sign further north?
Back to where the sign is that says that 25 miles an hour is coming.
Right.
It warns you about but it doesn't tell you where.
That's a good idea.
About by
That's a simple idea.
by Master Angelo's, by the drive back to fix there.
Where the line is on the road that says school.
Right.
Yeah.
And if we were slowing the cars down there, it would even give us a chance to do some enforcement on Glenwood, where change
Hmm.
people's minds pretty quickly about how fast they're entering and exiting the village. I mean, I am sensitive to the fact that sometimes people take off out of here pretty fast and it might be a surprise for them. If it's an officer sitting on the radar, but if we could, and I know there's rules on that, and I know we had to, there was a lot of persuading that went into lowering the speed limit on River from 50 to 40. That was not an easy.
Right, any change of the speed limit on a state route, we would need to make formal application to the state.
Yeah.
And have them, and we very likely might have to complete a comprehensive safety study showing why the lowering of the speed limit is justified. So it's more than just a little arm twisting. There would be a potential cost implication with respect to studies that would be required to justify our position.
So obviously this happened a long time before. I mean, I learned to drive when it was still 50. But when that got lowered, is that 25? Is there a map that shows the speed zone or that?
Yeah, ODOT maintains like a big creaky book of speed limits on state routes all over the state. And to change anything that is contained in that book where they've got it broken down by segments of road and speed limits that are shown requires a specific process to apply to the state for consideration of lowering the speed limit.
Because to me, that would be a significant safety improvement if we push that back so that.
Yeah.
Entire time.
I agree. I think there's a speeding problem on Chagrin River Road. I think there's one on County Line as well.
Well, let's keep it on the school.
Yeah.
So,
issue.
so Chris, wouldn't it make a difference to, if you're making application, the fact that there's a school parking lot there and kids are getting dropped off or it's being used for school purposes, you would think that that
Those are certainly things that swing in favor of lowering the speed limit.
go to 25? Okay.
I know, I hate to lose sight of, I think this is a really good discussion. I hate to lose sight of the importance of the bridge, though. And maybe something, again, after we hear from the residents, maybe something that we could do for the next meeting is kind of have a drawing of the bridge and
We have a
what
photo.
goes before and
Yeah.
after.
There's some
mean,
photos?
Well, the photos don't show us what the plan is.
Right,
over
they don't
there.
show you, yeah, you
No,
actually need
no,
a site
no,
plan.
We need a site plan.
Yeah, but
And
I
maybe,
think they're very they're
They're very
nice.
nice,
And
yes.
if you went to the ARB and got some feedback on what would look good, it would look really
Right.
nice.
and then maybe at least we could come to some consensus on that. But
Okay.
I think we should hear from. the rest.
Let's, if we can, we'll,
Can I just have one more?
yes.
So I started counting after, of course he left, but Michael initially brought up the topic of character of Gates Mills. And one of the things that I started counting, and there were four references to character that were absolutely just tied towards visual. And I get that that's one aspect of it, but I would challenge every single member here that the character of Gates Mills isn't just visual. It's safety, it's welcoming, it's accessibility. It is not just a visual aspect. So the character of Gates Mills, let's not just limit it to what you see, but about the feel of the city and how welcoming it is. And so I just wanted to make that.
Thank you, Jim. So let's, can I just get a show of hands from those in the audience who wish to speak? We won't call on you yet. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, it's a half dozen. Can it be fair to everyone if I ask you to limit it to 3 to 5 minutes? Okay? Dr. Birnbaum, why don't we start with you? It's your, we're gonna hold you to 4 minutes, okay?
Yeah, no problem.
Just hold
Shorter.
everybody to 4 minutes. Okay.
Hello again, my name is Dr. James Birnbaum. I reside at the corner of Colvin and Chagrin River Road. I would like to once again emphasize that the proposed sidewalk project is a solution in search of a problem. As others have pointed out, the concern being raised is limited to the summer camp, which operates only 5 or 6 weeks each year. In more than 50 years, and this is very important to consider, there has not been a single incident to justify such an undertaking. To spend $250,000, $300,000, whatever the number is on a sidewalk that will never be used is neither reasonable nor responsible. The reality is clear. Children at the camp play on the school grounds, and when walking to the community center, they travel down Colvin, not Chagrin River Road. They are always escorted in small groups by adults. A sidewalk along Chagrin River Road serves no conceivable purpose. Sorry. And would permanently diminish the aesthetics of our community, which is so beautifully integrated with the metro parks. Installing it would be as senseless as placing a random section of sidewalk in front of anyone's private home, and I want you to consider that. The only outcome of this project would be a lasting reminder of how $250,000 of taxpayer money was wasted, funds that could be redirected toward a wide range of meaningful projects that actually benefit the residents. I want to commend the mayor, David, and Sandra, who took the time to meet with me in person, walk the property, and carefully evaluate the facts. After doing so, they concluded, as pragmatists, that the project is unjustifiable and voting against it. Unfortunately, I'm disappointed that the remaining council members did not extend the same courtesy to me or my neighbors. Perhaps you believe you already had sufficient information, but I can assure you, many of my neighbors were not even aware of this proposal was under consideration. Some of them are present tonight to voice their concerns. Again, the sidewalk would serve no purpose other than to symbolize $250,000 of misspent city resources. A far more effective and fiscally responsible approach would be to implement simple targeted measures such as a seasonal crossing guard, additional signage, or a visible police presence. These solutions would cost next to nothing, would actually address the concern in a prudent and proportionate way. Thank you.
Thank you. Jared, do you have any comments?
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Thank you. Jared Capella. I'm at 1440 Chagrin River Road. Clearly, obviously, the most impacted property owner on this project. Mayor, I did want to point out one inconsistency in the statement you made based on the drawings I'm looking at. My fence line, yes, on the street to Colvin won't be impacted because of the utility line movement, which I appreciate you guys looking into. However, right here where the bridge will be, my fence, as those of you who drive by thousands of times, I'm sure over the year, it does kink toward the sidewalk. And
It has an angle there on the
Yeah.
south side, yeah.
It does angle there, and based on the drawings, that kink will have to come down. Am I mistaken?
Well, frankly, the kink can probably get straightened in line with your fence. The kink kind of curves in to get towards the guardrail.
Okay, and
We'll
in
look at-
addition to
We'll look at the
that,
kink, okay?
in addition to that, there's also an elevated bed there with evergreen trees that the sidewalk's gonna have to obviously come through flats. You're gonna have to clear that out, which means you're likely, even though the plans don't show that trees are gonna come down, based on my walking of it and my surveyor walking it with me, I do believe some of the trees are gonna come down. My concern with that is there is a beautiful deck, Mayor, and I believe you built the deck when you lived in the house, that my family enjoys, and there's a lot of privacy. What this bridge is gonna do is bring people 12 or 14 feet closer into the river and obstruct our privacy. And again, I just want the council to understand that as the most impacted resident on this project, it's going to severely impact the privacy that we enjoy, the privacy that when we originally looked at that house in 2014 and purchased it, we decided we wanted to have for our family. And I can say now, after deliberating with Ariel, if this project are to move forward, we are going to be moving out of Gates Mills. And Jim, you said that Gates Mills is sorry? John, I'm sorry. Gates Mills is a community of inclusion, but this project is doing is pushing a resident and their family out. And that's what's going to happen.
Thank you. Who's up? Yes, Suzanne, thank you.
Hi, thanks. I'm Suzanne Snelson. I'm president of the Friends of the Library. Thanks for giving this a big, thorough examination. The village has the full support of the Friends of the Library on this issue. We did contribute a sum of money, which we evaluated quite well. We saw a preliminary schematic at that time, and even though for the library's purpose, we would have loved it to come down the east side of Chagrin and be able to go directly to the library. We still thought it was a valuable change for the school to be closer to the village and to the library. And especially since the school has lost their cute little library because of increased enrollment. It's a great school. I still volunteer there. And I just recently saw on the Facebook page that they did bring the kids down to the village recently. You know, it was a beautiful day and they took a walk down to the village. They come to this building for all of their emergency preparedness. So it isn't just the camp. I think we really need to take the school into consideration. I also, I just encourage a commitment to a fully funded project. I think the village and the school go hand in hand, and the library kind of is a little mesh in between the two. So as my neighbor Steve, Lori's husband, says, safety never takes a holiday. and that's just a plus here. I appreciate everyone who lives in the area, their concern. Just like when you know, the electric company came and lobbed off all our beautiful pines. It isn't, but I'm just saying, I feel you. And I think there's probably a way to make it work. And I encourage cooperation and following through. It is a great village, and just a little aesthetic thing. I think the brick looks great down by the Hunt Club. There's no brick up here except for the walkway to the village. And I think a standard concrete cement would flow more easily to the concrete that's currently here. So thanks for your time.
Thank you. Yes.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ann Evans Barnes. I live at 1439 Chagrin River Road, so it's right on the corner of Colvin and River. I just wanted to say that I am, this is just for this portion that involves getting like the bridge over to Colvin. If it would be helpful, I'm happy to consider like allowing, I don't know if it needs to be sidewalk or whatever, but I'm rambling, the portion of the bridge over the creek is wider on my side than it is on Jared and Ariel's side of River Road. And I was wondering if perhaps it might be worth looking into somehow expanding the width of that portion instead of constructing a bridge on their side. It wouldn't be possible to put a bridge on my side, I don't think, just with the way the properties are, but if we wanted to, I would be open, but I would be open to considering looking at having the passageway be across my front lawn and over the bridge, the current like highway bridge over the creek. And then maybe the crosswalks, we would need to involve the leverings, of course, but have the crosswalk maybe extend over. And then you're also, it might be more helpful with the hill situation as well. I'm not sure what a safety expert would say, but I just wanted to put that out there. I just think nobody should have to move like because of this. And I don't have the same privacy concerns with the way that my lot is. Basically.
Thank you. We did consider that, and Chris can comment perhaps later or in our next meeting about we'd have to cut into your hillside a bit. That was considered, and then that seemed to be fairly intrusive, which is why that wasn't followed up on.
I think the resident has an interesting point. we want to be we're all in favor of safety, and we all want to follow the safety regulations, but somehow we're getting lost in the trees and we can't see the forest. It's got to be safer to let the kids go down the east side than to bring them across the street to the west side, down the street, and then bring them back across the street again. It doesn't make any sense at all.
The east side of Chagrin River Road contains some very steep slopes that are very close to the edge of the road.
I get that it's more expensive to put it on the east side, but it's got to be crazy to make the kids do 2 crossings of a state highway. And then we're saying doing that in the name of safety? It's absurd.
Okay, other comments from others in the audience that haven't had a chance to speak? Sean?
Hi, good evening. Thanks again for listening and deliberating over this important topic. My son was with me last month. I'm going to keep it to 4 minutes. My son was with me last month and he was really upset that I didn't let him come up here and talk with me. He couldn't come tonight, but what he wanted every one of you to hear was that you don't see kids there because it is not safe. Okay? So this is not about just a camp. This isn't even frankly just about the school. This is about improving safety along a heavily trafficked part of our village that is highly desirable for folks to walk on, but for the utter lack of safety. I want to talk about timing, aesthetics, and safety. So timing, we hear, contrary to popular opinion, over and over again in this village, that people do want to walk and they want to have a safe pedestrian experience. We heard it at the beginning of this evening's meeting. The senior survey said folks want to walk. The comprehensive plan specifically mentions the sidewalk from 2023 when that thing was done. I think we started in 2021. The final text of the plan specifically mentions the sidewalk and a crosswalk. We've had an agreement with the county for at least 2 years, maybe 3. We've talked to a school district. We've talked to the Friends of the Library. The mayor has, and his administration, have dutifully shown up to these meetings and provided routine updates, not every month, but probably quarterly. This has not been hidden or, progressing without public knowledge. With regards to aesthetics, right, it's kind of the strongman's argument to say, oh, it's changing, it's going to change the aesthetics. I live in this part of the village. It is uniquely situated as part of the most densely developed part of the village, where guess what? There happen to be a lot of sidewalks, except on this stretch. So it's entirely consistent with the aesthetics of our village to have a sidewalk along this stretch. With regard to the flashing sign, we said earlier tonight, the flashing mile-per-hour sign, we see that one commonly throughout the village. On the northbound side of River Road, across the street in front of Wayne and Sherry's house, there's a blinking school district sign. We have a flashing sign in our village. So that's not entirely inconsistent with our existing aesthetics, and it's important. The rise of elevation as you cross the creek makes it so that motorists that are traveling northbound cannot see you. I love the idea of moving the 25-mile-an-hour sign further north. I want us all to remember it is 25 when you're traveling northbound all the way until you're up at the nursery. People get through all of the traffic calming that is outside of this building. They come to accelerate to get over that creek, and they keep their foot on the gas, and it's still 25 miles an hour, and we have zero enforcement. I lived here for 10 years. I've never seen any enforcement along that stretch of the road. Which brings us to safety. We talk all the time about how we want to be safe. It's one of the shining beacons of the comprehensive plan. It's in every candidate's statement. And from my vantage point, we do a lot to protect property. And what is before us on this issue is a chance to protect people. This is something that the village needs to do. We've committed to our residents to do it in the comprehensive plan. We've committed to the county to do it. We've committed to the school district to do it. We've committed to the Friends of the Library to do it. We've been taking years to get it done. And I don't know if it's a failure of process, a failure of imagination, or a failure of caring. But good luck with resident participation for anybody that just doesn't show up to these meetings and say no.
Thank you.
And good luck finding partnership with important stakeholders. We are a small village. And if you renege on commitments that you've made, you know, have fun getting resources for any of the other initiatives that you want to address. Let's make Brigham Young more safe, or Brigham Road more safe. We should do that. But good luck doing it on our own. Thanks.
Thank you. Sarah?
Sorry, I need to just make one statement to refute what Sean just said. I have two children, Ryder is 7, Bryn who's 4. They literally walk along that stretch of Chagrin River Road almost every single day into the playground and back. So there are children that are safely crossing that every single day, not only all of the hundreds of campers that come in the months of June and July, who, again, for the past 10 plus years or however long the camp has been there, there's never been an incident of safety. So
Are your children in a wheelchair?
Thank you.
pardon?
Are your children in a wheelchair?
No, they are not.
Okay.
I frankly don't understand the purpose of that question. Are any residents,
Accessibility.
are any residents in the affected area in a wheelchair?
I have replaced hip. I have a problem walking, on uneven surfaces.
Do you live in the village?
Yes,
Where?
County Line Road.
No, I meant in the village where the where the sidewalk
Well, it's
That's
not, it's just not about the people
constructed
that
may
live in the
impact your
village.
life.
It's
Oh.
all pedestrians. Okay, we have time for maybe just 2 more. Sarah?
Thank you. My name's Sarah Carricker. I live on Colton Road. Thank you all. Still. I understand their concerns about aesthetics, but there should be no debate that this stretch of road is unsafe. It needs to be addressed in some serious way. Over almost 5 years of living on Colvin Road, my husband and I have walked this stretch. We've done some quick math, more than 4,000 times. You've probably seen us on our truck. That's several times a day, at various times a day. And I have lost count on the number of near misses that I've been part of. It's great that people will veer for us, but the amount of times I've seen cars veering and almost hitting a bike because they're trying to help us happens all the time. There's much discussion about the school and the camp as beneficiaries, and that's great. And protecting children is essential, but this also connects our village to the point of character. I don't know if you guys know, there's a great sledding field, there's a hill, there's basketball courts, soccer fields. People use those and people walk to those that we see all the time. And now with this new playground, can't wait. It's a great playground. So the most important thing is safety. And I'm not comforted by the fact that no one has been hurt or killed yet, which everyone keeps saying and whispering in the audience. Pedestrian fatalities are at near records nationwide. If you look at people texting, drinking and driving, there's all kinds of reasons. And it's only a matter of time before something's gonna happen, or I fear something will happen. My husband and I live on actually the smallest property in this village, and I would gladly give it for something safe. And I think the loss of community is really apparent. I'm looking at certain people and the value that has, as opposed to the value that this would bring. So, thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Jerry?
Come up, Jerry.
We'll need you by the microphone, please. Thank you.
Just really quick, a point of clarification, keeping the sidewalk and the whole project on the east side of River Road is defined as prohibitive. And you guys pointed out difficulty, it's a significant project. But what is the number roughly, just a guess? I'm sorry?
Yeah, I would say it would easily be three
keep
times
it
the
all in
cost,
that-
if not more, probably involve retaining walls and
What
much
would
more
that number be?
clearing and grading.
What would the number be?
I would have to draw it and estimate it. I can't tell you off the top of my head.
750?
Lori, did you have a comment? I think you might have been, your hand up.
To here is the speed in that area. I mean, as somebody else said, people take off from downtown and just accelerate. And they're going 50, 60 miles an hour by the time they get past Vic's property. And nothing is being done about that. And the other thing is there was a light at that corner. Why did we take it down if we're so concerned about safety?
The light was taken down by the state probably 25 years ago.
Why? If we're concerned about safety, why did?
Traffic.
It's
why
a
don't we
state,
have-
it's a state highway, Laurel. We
Yeah,
don't have
traffic,
control.
traffic lights have to be warranted, which means there's got to be certain traffic conditions and certain driving conditions that are met in order to warrant the installation of a signal.
think
If-
that we're
Hold on, if you have a signal that's installed at an intersection where it's not warranted, there's a huge liability issue for the village and for the state if there's an accident and there's a signal that's not warranted. So there's a very specific process you have to go through to justify and warrant the installation of a traffic signal. The reason it came down is because those conditions were not met at that point in time when the state was doing a resurfacing project on Sugar River Road.
So they didn't want people to stop there. Is that it?
It wasn't a three-way. It was
And-
a flashing yellow. sign.
Right, an unwarranted signal or flashing light can pose more of a hazard if it's unwarranted than the actual, what you're trying to provide, which is better safety.
I think that that we're missing some things here. I mean, I think there is more we could do about safety before we go putting sidewalks in. For the point of the Boole courts in the park there, nobody uses them and we put them in there. I mean, if we put the sidewalk up here and nobody walks on it, we've wasted all this and upset the neighbors and hurt people's property. And I think we should think about the speed a bit more that goes through there.
Okay.
It's been upsetting. That's been very upsetting to the neighbors and we have said something. I mean, the police are welcome to sit in my driveway.
Okay.
Thank
I think we've covered everyone. David?
Quick question. I don't know. Could the last speaker identify herself?
Laurel Smith. Right?
Laurel Smith.
Laurel Smith.
Thank you.
David Young, 7510 Old Mill Road. My question is simply, are there any plans to share these renderings with the village residents and in a town hall meeting or a mailing and seek their feedback before a decision is made?
Thank you, David. Any other comments? So let me see if I can summarize all this and a plan forward. So we're on second reading, and while there are items today to act on if we chose to, it would seem that there are some good questions that have been raised. I'd like to understand a little bit better myself, the ODOT versus the handicap ADA standards. Mr. Hatton had a good suggestion about doing it, I'll say essentially in 2 or 3 pieces, maybe not the last piece being needed. We can look at that. There are some questions about the aesthetics and how can we make sure this doesn't look onerous. And so if council wants, we could do more research, come back with renderings, make them available to people. I will say one thing, this money is not going to be redirected in the village. This money was raised for specific purposes. It's going to go, if we don't use it, it's going back. And we can't use it for the S-curve by the cemetery or for something else. It was a specific sidewalk project that connects the lower school to the village center. That's contractual to the county, contractual to the feds, contractual to our donors. So don't think it's going to be redirected and used on something else. And the comment that was made by somebody about us then wanting next time to ask for money to contribute, collaborate, we'll have it'll hurt. So should consider that too. Does council want to do anything different? Does anyone want to vote on this or make a motion to vote, or do we want to bring it to the third reading next time? Well, council's choice. Thank you, audience.
I agree with her.
As do I.
Same.
I have one procedural question. Mayor and Todd, minutes when you say that it remains on reading.
There wasn't a vote.
And no vote for the emergency. It wasn't for the legislation.
Mhm.
So are we okay with that?
Yes.
We'll bring it back at the next meeting for the third and final reading.
Right, Steve, I wonder, I feel like we need to think about additional questions that we still need answered, some detailed drawings. I mean, can we look at a swag of what it would cost to move it to the other side, if it would mean that the kids didn't have to cross at some point? I mean, should we be looking at a lot of different options, and how many people are upset by that change, and whether or not that's more practical? I mean, I feel like we still got a lot of facts.
We don't have to do third reading next month. We can take as long as we want between second and third reading.
And I think we ought to absolutely share whatever information we have so that people really understand it, and we all understand that.
It's all public information now, as Todd reminded me. Anybody can call and ask. So we can put a little information packet together or something. If people ask, we can send it to them.
And I just, and in terms of some of the details, following up on what Lori said, I'm not sure, again, when you talk about the east side, if we're talking about adding a bridge there or expanding the road. So, some clarification about what you're talking about and what the additional cost is. It would have to be a bridge.
And why is that, Chris? Do you mind? And also, I think understanding like how far does it go, so that everyone understands, what the impact is. So how far off, and maybe. What is, so that we can really visualize the impact.
Yeah, the way we discussed it at the last meeting, where I recall, we said that it would be a prefabricated bridge that would be 6 feet wide, and it would be tucked up relatively tight to the back of the guardrail. So if you look at the back of the existing guardrail, the outer limit of the bridge would be, say, 7 feet off the back of the guardrail posts.
I just want to
Okay,
go on record.
Lori, quickly.
I just want to go on record by saying that I would be the one who would say, who would put this for a vote this month. Just please stop kicking the can on this. I mean, either vote or, either vote yes or no, but many, many, many man hours have gone into this, not ours. And so there's some qualified people looking at doing this. We got the money for it. Let's go ahead and do the project. Or if we're not going to, let's just, have egg in our face and not do it. But we really have some people that have been putting this out for a few years now. And I don't want to be part of a committee that just can't make a decision after 3 or 4 years.
I appreciate that, John, but actually the first time we saw anything was last meeting. This is the first time we've really seen this, and it's complicated, and there's a lot of, different views, and so I feel like we still gotta get our arms around
But
it
it
all.
really was started back in what, 2023?
But
Yes.
we
Yeah.
weren't
Yeah, but
involved.
we never
You
had.
can't be involved in every single
Right.
aspect.
But it's a lot of detail to digest and to really understand. And I feel like we owe it to everyone who's impacted to understand.
Okay, so we'll do that.
That's just-
Lori,
I'm a blue.
quickly, we need to move on. Lori? So that's fine. We can put together a flyer or something. We have no problem. We're very transparent. I have no problem doing that. I'll bite my tongue and just stop there. We've been working on this for 3 years, okay? And we now have 1,000 questions that we get more questions every week on questions that should have been thought through a while back. In any event, we're done on this. Jim, I sent you invitations starting in January. Okay, I think we're going to move on. We'll bring this back at the next meeting. Is that all right with everyone on council?
Yes.
I'm not sure what we're bringing back, but we'll be back. Okay, thank you all for attending. Item number 6, financial report. You got my report. Any questions on there? We're in pretty good shape. That's all I'm going to say.
Highest level of reserves ever.
Is that good or bad?
Good.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Okay, clerk's report.
Real quick, if you haven't seen the new playground up at Gates Mills School, get up there and check it out.
Ooh, awesome.
Available for all residents and visitors, grandkids of mayors and council people too. So it's nice to have something that's a little for a higher age group, kind of a 5 to 12 group versus what we have at Marston Park, a little younger group. Okay, treasurer's report, Dixon.
I don't have anything to add.
Okay, thank you. Police Department report, Minichillo.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. Be happy to take any question you might have. Everybody should receive a copy of my report. Just real quick here, Sergeant Toski just walked out and it's kind of a big deal. You'll see in bullet point number 1 there. Dylan was, he had expressed interest in attending a pretty high level leadership college, leadership course in Ohio. And, he was accepted with that. He's real motivated to do this. And not many people have this opportunity. So he'll be attending that in the winter. Starts kind of in December. It's really like going back to college again. It's a 3-month program. He'll be going out to Columbus once a week. And many assignments will be coming down the road and whatnot. And we have a long-standing history of sending our supervisors there. Shows how I'm dating myself here, but I went through in 2002, 24 years ago, and that was class number 35. So stayed, very involved with that group, that organization, and it's a great program. I'm really excited to have him attending that in the fall.
Thank you.
Any questions?
No questions. Next, Mr. Biggert.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. You should have received a copy of my monthly report. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. There are nothing that would conclude my report.
No questions? Michael?
I do have a question, but it's for the chief, not for Dave.
Okay.
I've noticed coming down Old Mill, it's steep and it's curvy. And I've noticed 2 or 3 times recently that there's landscaper trucks parked right on the bend. You go around the corner and all of a sudden your lane's blocked, and it seems to me it's not a very safe situation. I'd be curious to what your view is on that.
Well, we certainly, when we if we feel it's a hazard, certainly we'll stop and talk to them. If we get a complaint, we'll certainly respond. And not just Old Mill, and I know exactly what you're talking about. I see landscape trailers all throughout, all the road. People can't pull in the driveways. It's, it's situational, quite honestly, and it's nothing that we can, it's not as easy as it sounds. We'll go there, we get asked to move in, they can't pull in the driveway. The resident gets upset about them pulling the landscape trucks in the driveway and whatnot. So, but whenever there's a call for service, we'll go and we'll ask, we'll talk to them, and we'll see if it in fact is a hazard. I mean, many times they do put cones out and whatnot, anything to minimize that. But, certainly, with the curves and the hills and the roads and, the large properties that we have, we understand it happens more than we would like it to happen.
So follow on, because I've noticed the same, Chief. Is there any regulation around what length you need, a blocking that you need a flag person for?
Those are usually for big projects. You'll see that, trees, when we do tree service down here, guardrails, they'll get the service crews out there and they usually have the flaggers there. If they can't supply that, a lot of times they'll go ahead and hire our off-duty guys to go in there and, coordinate some traffic assistance with them. But, for the most part, they're pretty good. Chris has a handle on that. I think he always, when they're doing big projects down here, he makes it part of the specs and whatnot. So, I think we do a pretty good job in that area.
Thank you, Chief.
Service question, Steve. I wonder where we were on the Kish property. When we're going to be demolishing it? Was the village going to be doing that?
So the Kish property is property that Mr. Kish left to the village upon his passing. I spoke with Eric Jocham, the attorney, one of the two attorneys representing the Kish property and the Kish estate just a few days ago on this matter. The way he's proceeding is that the house is very full. And they are going through all of the contents, separating that which might be valuable from that which is not of such value. That process is going to continue for a couple more weeks. After that, it would be essentially turned over to the village. I did get his approval, and I've instructed Dave that on the outside, we can begin to make it look more presentable by trimming trees, digging up roots and stumps that have just been there to rot, and otherwise making it look a little ready. Council approved us hiring Seth Trask several weeks ago, and we've been in contact with him. Ideally, I'd like to turn the property over to him, 4 weeks from now or something. Okay? You're welcome. Tom?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. You received a copy of my monthly report. If there are there any questions on the report?
Tom, the 813 motor vehicle.
He was on a bicycle. Mhm.
We're still on schedule for bringing to council at the October meeting the specs that we could review with them on the fire engine.
Yes.
Thank you.
One other thing, Tom, so I see on EMS, we're pretty far ahead of 2024 year to date. It's a whole month's worth.
About 20 calls, yes. There's a couple of factors that figure in for that, yes.
All right. Is there anything we could do to lower it? The answer is no.
We have met with, and this is not to put it on them because it's not, but we have met with one of our more frequent users. It's a group home here in the village, and have reminded them of the fact that calls that emergency calls should be made, and they should be made by their medical people or by their people without regard to what the cost is. At the same time, we pay the cost. And so let's not have someone call EMS to take blood pressure, okay? Not saying that happens, but that's just an extreme of what could happen if you don't put some degree of notice on this. It was a very positive meeting, and We got their assurance that they'd make sure that the staff understood that calls to EMS and to 911 are for that purpose.
I'd also like to address a question that came up beforehand about used fire apparatus. If you recall, when we bought engine 1413, the truck that'll be 40 years old that we were going to rotate out of the fleet, that was bought as a used fire apparatus when it was 22 years old, and we did put a lot of money into it. The other factor with that is that was the final series of trucks that they built that didn't have a lot of electronics on it. Everything on that truck is cable driven. The other thing that we have done is we put out feelers to the national used manufacturers fleet to get quotes for trucks. Although we do receive some, the cost of used fire apparatus has gone up dramatically. So a 15-year-old truck that used to sell, for next to nothing is now going for a lot more money. And then you still have the repairs that need to be done. So the idea here is that we rotate the 40-year-old truck out of the fleet, move the 30-year-old truck into its slot, and the new truck would replace that. So we're still open to any options that might come along, but the options are very, very limited.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
We'll hear more from that next month. Thank you.
No.
Any other questions for Tom? Okay.
Steve,
Any
can I make
updates?
can I make one comment real quick?
Please.
You may note there've been some signboards up, identifying that Brigham Road's going to be closed at Racebrook Road next Monday for about a week. We're going to be completing that emergency repair that was authorized last month. So know that there'll be a detour posted and Brigham will be closed just east of Chagrin River Road, starting on Monday for about a week.
Thank you. Broadband, Lori, any broadband
Just a few,
report?
thank you, Mayor, just a few items. The first office hour was held on September 10th. I was out of town, so I was not able to go, but I understand from CVG that it went well. A few residents were there. CVG's asked if they could even put up a table outside just so that people know they're there. The next one is I think it's the 24th. It's
It is.
next Wednesday. Thank you. And also just wanted to mention that they're also going to be at the Foxtrot, participating there this weekend. They're thinking of providing maybe coffee or something when the weather gets cool and having an outdoor table. So again, just that's that part of the information part and is going well, but would love to see obviously more residents hopefully take advantage of it.
Okay, thank you. Tree Canopy Committee, David or Sandra, any comments?
On September 4th, the Land Trust Alliance, which is a national organization of land trusts, had their annual conference in Cleveland. There were over 1,000 people that attended. They had several small trips, 50 people into different communities to see projects. And we were fortunate enough to have a group of 50 come to the village to visit one of the 4 pilot projects for invasive tree removal. It was the former Merkel property on Chagrin River Road, just south of Mayfield. So they were very interested in what they saw, had a lot of questions. The president of Better Meadows and Woodlands was there to explain the work he was doing. Mitch and I from the Tree Canopy Committee, there were some people there from the Western Reserve Land Conservancy. We did well until 10 when all hell broke loose and the rains came down, and we moved to the Garden Club barn and continued the discussion. But it was a very proud day to be able to share what we're doing and to have people kind of oohing off from across the country. So that was lovely. Gates Mills Land Conservancy, I have some flyers to pass out. The annual meeting is on October 15th at 6 o'clock. And the presentation is about the tributary smallmouth bass project. This is in conjunction with the Ohio Division of Wildlife in partnership with some Wisconsin researchers who did a project about the ecological role of our native lake-run bass and their importance to Ohio fisheries. So hopefully you'll join us. It's open to everyone in the community, and there's good food. Scott and Carrie are doing the shrimp boil. So come one, come all.
Be there for sure.
Sandra, what time on the 15th?
6 o'clock, Wednesday, October 15th at 6 p.m.
Thank you. Scott, any comments on the wastewater committee?
So we have tuned up some of the language. I talked about the need.
Correct.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question. You were going, you gave us an undertaking last month to talk to Dr. Barnes about his views on tying the Gates Mills Elementary School into the sewer system. What did he have to say?
I talked to Dr. Barnes and to Scott Snyder about that. Scott was asked to gather some basic information that we gave him a short punch list. They agreed to do that and provided it. If my recollection is right, we asked him primarily for the amount of flow, and I believe the flow is less than 20% of what the Hunt Club's estimated flow is.
Interesting.
Well, it's a school that's only open 9 months out of the year, not weekends, and essentially from, 8 to 4. So while you think you got 100 people using it, it's a limited amount of time. Okay, we'll go to item number 15, Resolution 25-37. Sorry. Oh, thank you, Todd, for keeping me on track. Janet usually does that with an elbow, so I appreciate that nod or that nudge. Item 13, Resolution 2025-35, second reading. This is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a purchase agreement with Contact Engineered Solutions LLC for a prefabricated pedestrian bridge system and declaring an emergency. I think we've had discussion on that. Me? Kept on second reading. No, kept on second reading. Thank you. Item 14, resolution number 25-36, also kept on second reading. This is a resolution accepting a bid and awarding a contract for the downtown sidewalk improvements and declaring an emergency. Keep that on second reading. Okay. Item number 15, resolution 25-37, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract for emergency repairs to the old mill at County Line Road stone culvert and declaring an emergency. We had this discussed last month. I believe the bids that came back were all in excess of the amount that the engineer had forecasted.
No, it was above the state bid limit, so we had to bid the project instead of receiving quotes.
Okay, thank you. So where are we at now, Chris?
We have a recommendation for Site Works Unlimited LLC to build the project for $88,035. And that is for the award of Section 1 and Section 1A, line item number 16 only.
Okay. Anybody that's driven by and wants to stop their car and look out over the 100-foot culvert down below,
Good.
make sure you're holding on to the guardrail.
Yeah, it needs to get done.
All right, so I would move that we suspend the rules.
Second.
Second, yeah.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Michael. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Good.
Thank you.
I would also
Oh,
note that
roll call. I'm sorry. I'm trying to make up for the hour and a half we spent on the other topics. So roll call, please.
Eton,
Yes.
Broom,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Anesco,
Yes.
Press,
Yes.
Steinbrink.
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
I thought you were streamlining this.
And that was to suspend.
Now-
Now we got to vote.
Would you like a motion on the resolution itself?
Approved. Thank you, Michael.
Pres-
Second.
Second.
Thank you, Scott. Any discussion on the topic?
Get her done.
Roll call, please.
Anton.
Yes.
Broom,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
UNESCO,
Yes.
Press,
Yes.
Steinbrink.
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
When is the start date if we get this?
Their time to start is 30 days or less. I anticipate them starting by the middle of October. And I would note that that line item, section 1A, number 16, provides money to address some safety concerns that were raised by Lori last month as it relates to the top of that slope. That'll give us the ability to put some fencing behind the guardrail along the top of the slope to make it a little more apparent that it's a dangerous area.
Should, so we got a bid, two people bid, we got the bid of the bids. And this is like 100-year-old culvert made out of river stone, if I'm not mistaken. What's the chance that the 88,000 will not be enough money?
It will be enough money. I've got some little bit of latitude in there. If we get into a problem where it starts to creep further north or south is where we're gonna have a problem. I don't anticipate that. We're not gonna be opening the road. We're gonna be slip lining the existing stone culvert and then pumping grout around that slip lined pipe. So with, not opening the road and not digging everything up, it minimizes the chances that we're gonna run into something that we don't expect. So given the method of repair, I think those chances are pretty low.
Okay, thank you. You're on the record now.
Got it. Walk right into that.
Wow.
Good for them.
Thank goodness people do their work.
Straight down.
Yeah, Chris, thanks for the guardrail. That is a great safety improvement.
Okay, item 16 and resolution 25-41 on first reading. This is a resolution accepting the rates as determined by the Tax Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor. This is purely a housekeeping item with the county. We previously submitted numbers, the county comes back and they confirm the rates, and then we have to accept the rates, et cetera. So Janet could have done a better job if she was here explaining that. At this point, I would ask for a motion to suspend the rules.
So moved.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Sandra. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Anton.
Yes.
Broom,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
UNESCO,
Yes.
Press.
Yes.
Steinbrink.
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
Move to approve resolution 2025-41.
Second?
Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Lori. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Anton.
Yes.
Broom,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
UNESCO.
Yes.
Press.
Yes.
Steinbrink.
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
The next item I'm going to remove from the agenda. Janet had prepared a calculation of, there are certain areas that we are going to be over budget. And on the professional services side, some of those have to do with TechSpert, our IT provider. We had a bill that came in this year from last year's traffic study. We've done a few other things that add up, and we'll probably need about $20,000 additional dollars. She has given me analysis, but I don't have a detailed understanding of every item on the analysis. So rather than trying to fumble through it, we'll wait a month. We also did get an estimate from another company, R.D. Warner, to do an analysis of the railroad bridge. That estimate has come in at about $20,000 to do the analysis and the pictures. And they also will hang guys off the side in lanyards, taking pictures and looking at steel underneath. I haven't reviewed that yet with Chris or with Michael Kelly. So assuming that is valid and is reasonable, we'll need approval for that as well. So both of those can wait until October or until the next meeting. So that would be first reading. This was an ordinance to amend the annual appropriation ordinance number 24-52 to increase certain appropriations and other expenditures of Village of Gates Mills for the year ending December 31, 2025. Thank you. Okay, number 18. Also on first reading, this is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute and deliver subdivision participation and release forms to participate in the direct settlement of claims concerning alleged misconduct related to opioids against Purdue Pharma and the Sackler family and declaring an emergency. We, as hundreds and thousands of other municipalities across the country, are able to participate in the opioid settlements. The amounts, usually based on head count or revenue, the amounts that come to us are relatively modest. We usually use that money for Narcan or for something consistent with that. This is another requirement that we would need to sign the release form and direct us to pursue the settlement. Scott, Todd may have some comments.
Yes, we don't know how much the amount would be that we would receive. It could be 3 figures, 4 figures, 5 figures, 6 figures perhaps.
Do we know if anyone in Gates Mills had an opioid addiction problem and was basically a victim?
I think that question was asked in the past. I think the police chief said yes. These monies are used mostly for drug abuse education issues such as that. But we do have a deadline.
I would move to suspend.
Thank you. Second,
Second.
thank you, Sandra. Roll call on suspension.
Anton?
Yes.
Groom?
Yes.
Deacon?
Yes.
Monesco?
Yes.
Press?
Yes.
Steinbrink?
Yes.
Turner? Yes.
We have a motion to approve resolution 2543.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
I guess I would say it might be, the world might be a better place if this money was directed to someone more needy who had experienced the problem, which is best of my knowledge, we have not. I'll vote for it, but
The money, again, as Chad said, we usually direct it towards the schools and drug education at the schools, or Narcan or other. You're talking thousands of dollars here, not tens of thousands usually. Thank you, Chief. Roll call, please.
Anton?
Yes.
Groom?
Yes.
Deacon?
Yes.
Monesco?
Yes.
Press?
yes.
Steinbrink?
Yes.
Turner? Yes.
Okay, next item on the agenda, number 19. Council has requested that council have discussion on 2 items. One, a motion that previously was tabled, and secondly, House Bill 96. I'm going to turn this section of the agenda over to Todd. There you go, Mr. Law Director.
Yes, there was a motion that was passed to consider a charter amendment related to zoning, related to referendum on zoning changes. It's then reconsidered by council, tabled, and so it's now sitting on the table. Mr. Press was the one who made the original motion. Mr. Press was not here when it was tabled. Need to be taken off the table to be discussed. And Mr. Press has probably some information that he would like to present to council with respect to that.
I do indeed. And I do intend to put a motion to take the motion from the table, and I intend to do that tonight. Couple of comments first. The purpose of the motion is to give the citizens the final say when council makes significant changes to zoning. Okay? Now, a bit of history. Back in the days when we went to 5-acre spacing in the 90s, council made a discretionary decision to put the matter before the voters. I think that's the right way to do it. In the early aughts, when council approved section 1160, which is the only part of the code, zoning code, that allows adjacent housing, Council did not put it before the villagers to approve, which I think is wrong. The motion that was originally voted on back in May of 24 passed by a plurality of 5 against 2. In February, when I was, as the mayor observed, was not present, there was a motion to table that passed by a margin of 6-0. I might add, as an aside, that there was a lot of confusion around that tabling. I read the minutes before I came here tonight, and I think the motion came from Councilman Broom, who said quite clearly he wanted to table it until Councilman Press and Councilman Welch were back. He didn't say one tabled indefinitely. Well, it did get tabled indefinitely the way it was written up, but we are where we are. I don't think Councilman Welch is coming back anytime soon, so I would like to untable it. Now, I don't intend to discuss the matter tonight. People have complained about not having enough warning and not enough time to consider it, so I think we should not start discussing it until October or later. But I do think we should vote tonight on whether to untable it. For the benefit of the audience, there was a lot of discussion at council about how do you define significant change in zoning. And the way it was defined in the motion, there were 3 things that would have to go to the voters. 1 would be a change in 5-acre spacing. 2 would be a change in section 1160. And the 3rd would be anything else that facilitated higher density zoning. Nothing else would have to go. And I think I promised, and I know Councilman Broom agrees, that if we do go ahead with a charter amendment, if we do decide to do that down the road, we need to first go through the zoning we have with a fine-tooth comb and clean up anything that needs to be cleaned up before we would put this matter before the voters. So with that, I would suggest, if I could get a second, that we vote to untable the motion or we defeat the motion.
I would second that.
But one brief thing, I know that I was asked to draft the charter language, which I did. It's pretty specific and it was discussed pretty thoroughly. Also,
I thought it was too, but there was discussion last month about how it had not been discussed thoroughly.
it was in May of 2024.
Correct. Well, actually, we were discussing it early in 25.
So there's a motion and a second to take off the table the motion.
Correct.
Okay. Any discussion on that?
I'd like to make an observation, if I may. The spirit of what was discussed when Michael wasn't here was that we were delaying it in order for him to return and make the case. The correct thing to have done, in my view, and I was ignorant at the time, was to postpone the motion, not table it. But in that meeting, I looked at the minutes, I looked at the video. First mention of tabling was from the mayor. The second was from Todd. And I was confused. I thought we were postponing, not tabling. I didn't know what tabling meant. And so the spirit of it, which was very well expressed by Scott Broom, who was saying we should wait until Michael and also Ed Welsh were back to talk about it. And that's what I thought we were doing. So that's where I am now, and I believe it should be taken off the table, whatever the heck that means.
That was actually my question. I don't know what tabling is, and call me a newbie, but I don't know what tabling is, and also I was not part of the original discussions or anything, so I don't know that I should be participating in that.
Oh, you can participate.
I can participate. Okay,
If you
good.
feel that you are informed enough on this issue, and tabling simply means that you take an issue and set it on the table, council.
Mhm.
It sits there, it's not on an agenda until someone brings it back, take it off the table. There's a motion now to take that issue off the table. to then discuss it further.
So we didn't, when you tabled it, no one voted yes or no.
Oh, yes.
No one voted yes or no on the issue
Oh,
ever.
no.
Okay.
It was just postponed indefinitely.
Postponed
It was
indefinitely.
taken off the table. Requires a motion.
Got it.
Any other discussion? So we'll have roll call for the motion to untable the motion. Roll call, please.
Eton,
Yes.
Broom,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
UNESCO,
Yes.
Press,
Yes.
Steinbrink,
Yes.
Turner.
Okay, so that motion is now back on the table. You choose not to discuss it today?
I think it would be better to wait and give people time to prepare.
Okay, so I'm going to charge you with, for the next meeting, having whatever materials you and working with Todd can put together so that 7 council members, including the new one, is a bit of a briefing on what the motion is.
I would be happy to do so.
Okay, thank
If
you.
I might volunteer, you can include in there the prior draft. I looked, I think.
Okay. I'll send it out.
Okay. Jerry? We got another hour to go, so you're just 5 minutes.
I could wait till the next month, but I do have some thoughts on this. It's pretty important.
Why don't we, would you mind if we wait until, can you do them next meeting? We're not doing anything more with it. Thank you. Okay, the other item was House Bill 96. Michael, you had asked that some time was put aside by council to discuss this. Thanks, Jerry.
Yeah, that's another one that's interesting. I'm told that the state legislature passed House Bill 96. I'm told that that raises the threshold for a citizens referendum from 10% to 35%. I would say that 35% is a pretty high bar. It also limits to a period of 30 days to collect signatures of 35% of the residents, which basically means anyone trying to do an initiative is going to have to spend a lot of money and bring in a lot of arms, a lot of bodies to help with that. What I don't know is there seems to be a conflict between the state constitution, which is 10% for a citizen's
You have an answer to
referendum
that.
versus the House bill. And I guess I'd like to hear from Todd on that.
There's 2 issues
Yeah.
here. One is initiative, which is citizens signing a formal petition to initiate legislation or to initiate a charter amendment. And then there's a referendum, of course, which is to put to a vote any legislation that this council would pass. 96 only applies in municipalities to referendum, not to initiative.
Okay.
For whatever reason, I don't get the General Assembly's rationale most of the time. Everything gets passed by the legislators south of there.
So basically,
That
still
in
10%.
townships, it's initiative and referendum, but only in municipal corporations, it's referendum. It went from 35% of the electors at the last gubernatorial election, went from 10%, 35%, which to me almost violates the Constitution of Ohio, because it's almost takes away the right of the citizens to a referendum.
Yeah, it's my understanding from talking to the law director that actually under home rule, we can,
That's correct.
we don't have to go with the 35% or the 10%. We can do whatever we want to do. I know that Chagrin Falls is 5%. I'm not unhappy with 10%. But we could, if you like, we could talk about what the appropriate percentage would be for our village.
It is 10% in the state code. Most communities who have passed something in the past, it's 10%. But you are free to put whatever percentage you want on that. It'll still be 10% for initiatives, but it would be 35% on referenda if you don't.
So
You can do it by ordinance,
Mhm.
or you could put, that on the ballot, for a charter.
So the 10% for the initiative is not, we can't overrule that as being a charter community.
Yeah.
You can.
Yes, you.
So for initiatives.
Mhm.
So both numbers are meaningless in a sense. So we could pick whatever we like.
You have the discretion to.
And we
change.
could make it different for initiatives and for referenda and so on. Okay.
What you can't do is make it too high.
Well, what's that mean?
Well, I'm not quite sure. but
Okay.
Whatever would take away,
I think 35
What-
is too high.
probably.
I'm happy with 10.
I'm happy with 10.
But we also have to be clear, 10% of what?
10%
state-
of the electors at the last
Yeah.
gubernatorial election.
That's what the statute says. We could change that. We could say
10%
10% of the people at the last election.
municipal.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, some people do. They say at the last general election, not the last gubernatorial election. So and do we have any flexibility over the 30 days in a referendum? No? Okay.
I think that's tied to when legislation is in fact.
That's when it goes into effect.
That's 30 days after the 30
And
days?
under our charter. it's
Yeah.
30.
So, okay. All
Unless
right.
something's passed by emergency,
Okay.
then it's not subject.
Now, what is 30%? What is a number? What are we talking about? How many electors voted at the last?
Get you that number, but
We need both. We need one for a regular general election and one for a gubernatorial election. Most recent, because that's what the statute talks about. Need that data. Thank you.
And Michael, I thought it was really interesting that it doesn't apply to Ohio. It applies to us. And it was passed by Ohio. And it was just so weird. It is a very weird thing. But I was educated on it this weekend because I brought up thinking that it was 33% for Ohio, and the company I was with was like, no, that's unconstitutional, cannot be that, absolutely. I'm like, no, absolutely, Michael said it was, but I was wrong. And you never led me to believe that. I just made the assumption that it was also Ohio.
Don't ask me to explain this, what the state legislature does. I have no idea.
Well, what the Constitution means.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
An initiative is this. And an initiative is the electors of a municipality or a political subdivision putting together a formal petition signed by electors who voted at the last, well, they have to be elected. Actually registered voters. And if you get 10% of those on an initiative petition also has to have the legislative action that they're initiating. It could be amendment to your zoning code, it could be amendment to anything, or an amendment to your charter. New provision put in the charter. I think the last initiative here that I could remember was an initiative on oil and gas was going to be put into the charter. And it was determined that that was not something that was initiated because state preempts local regulation. That was an example of an issue. A referendum is if council passes an ordinance this evening to amend their codified ordinances in any way. And there's 30 days, which citizens can put together a petition, a formal petition. 10% the electors ask gubernatorial. It's the threshold. But you have to be a qualified elector to sign them. Then it goes on the ballot. Next general The moment it's still 10%.
I would,
No, it's not. It's 10% on initiative. It's now, it's going to be September 30th, 35.
but we can change
But
that.
that can be changed by
I,
this council.
I would,
Either through an ordinance or through putting it on the ballot for the citizens to amend the charter, put it in.
I would like to propose a motion that we use 10% for both the referendum and the initiative.
Is the 10% in the charter?
No, it's not. Currently, we have nothing to ordinance.
This section of,
We're subject to state law.
this section of the meeting was meant to be discussion, so there really aren't any motions or resolutions. If you want something done, we can do that for the next meeting.
Fine.
But the particular goal was discuss it.
I think we should discuss that.
I think we need to clarify 10% of what.
Yeah, that was just what I was gonna say. Unless we have it on a piece of paper, we would just be voting with, yeah.
Okay, any further discussion on House Bill 96? We'll come back next meeting with 2 proposed motions
Perfect.
or resolutions or whatever the legal.
Can you remind our citizens of the candidates forum a week from Thursday?
Can you do what?
Can you remind our citizens of the candidates forum next Thursday?
Sure. Next Thursday at 7 PM, I think, is our semi-annual, biannual candidates forum. It'll be standing room only, so get here early and get your chair. Mr. McIntyre will moderate 6 council candidates for 4 open spots.
Thank
you. Okay, if we're done on those, I would like to request executive session to consider the acquisition of property for public purposes and to obtain legal advice from the village's legal counsel.
I would move that we enter executive session, reasons stated.
Can we be more specific about what property we're talking about?
We don't need to do that. It would violate the purpose of attorney-client privilege.
Well,
So I was told.
Second.
Have a second?
Yeah.
Sandra, discussion.
I'd like to hear Todd's view on that.
I really caution you because we're going to be discussing some very sensitive potential negotiations on property. And once you put that out there to the public, it skews everything with respect to negotiations on real property.
Any further discussion?
It can.
Roll call.
Anton,
Yes.
Broom,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
UNESCO,
Yes. Yeah.
Press,
Yes.
Steinbrink.
Yes.
Turner. Yes.
Thank you. The chiefs and Chris and Dave, we'll be at least a half hour. There's no reason to hang out.
Yeah,
You're done for the night. Thank you.
can I just have like, before everybody leaves, can I have like 3 minutes just to?
Sure.
Okay, great.
Craig, we need 3 more minutes for John's topic.
Yeah, I didn't want everybody to leave and then I'd be talking, well, just to you guys. Not that I don't mind just talking to you guys, but you know, I wanted to get something on the record just so I could have it. One little bit of I'll take solace in a little bit of sarcasm here. It's funny. I wanted to talk about communications, and I hear a lot from the public saying that we don't communicate enough. But unfortunately, I wanted to talk about communication today, and everyone I want to talk about, or a lot of people who wanted communication, all left as soon as they're and really, I want to put that out there that you know, we as a council, I think, really do try to communicate. With that being the case, the pink sheet is it's a great means of communication, but it's a bit antiquated. So noticing how hard it was to get 150 feet of sidewalk approved, I thought maybe my downtown refurbishment was going to take a little bit more for communication, or else we'd get it done about 2090. So I set out to make right now it's a website, it will be an app that will allow anybody, hopefully everybody on the council will want to do it too, to communicate with our constituents in a real-time manner. It's not endorsed by the city right now, but if you go to, and this is very important, it's forum, FORUM.gatesmills And the reason we don't have gatesmills.gov is because there is a cyber squatter with gatesmills.gov that has extreme anger issues. So don't try to talk to him unless you come to me first. Lauren, if you're ever listening to this, I think you really need to get some help for that. But what I would say is if you go to that website, what you'll find is that I organized it in such a way that there are categories, and then there are topics in those categories, and that's what we can contribute. And where this differs from social media is that social media is very it is very transient. You know, it's whatever's the news is right now, but it's not a sidewalk issue that takes 3 years. Whereas we can make a topic that is a sidewalk issue that we put all of the information out there. We can put our thoughts of it, and we can have question and answers and that kind of stuff with those topics that are on there. And the topics don't go away. So that was the big deal. The topics stay there. And so we can have meaningful conversation. We cannot have meaningful conversation, but at least we have the option to go out there and say, here's something that's going to stay. And it is communication. At this point, it's not official communication. It's just communication. But it'll help with showing, that we are talking with things. And I'm not exactly sure where it will go, but I intend to use it for my own communication out there so that I can get feedback from the community on things that I talk about.
Can you say the address again?
It is forum, FORUM, .gatesmills.app. That's the app. Everybody. I want I'll knock on doors if I can get people to sign up on it, and
I think you sent an email this morning out to people.
I sent an email to everybody here, but I will be sending emails out to our constituents over the course of time to bring them on slowly. But anybody who's listening to this, please sign up.
Okay. Thank you, John. Thanks for the initiative on that.
Yep. Oh, one other thing, we should get gatesmills.gov. It can't be taken by a cyber squatter, but we should definitely get that.
Okay, we'll begin the executive session in a minute.
Wow.
Mike, are we good?
Participation.
Okay, it's 9 o'clock. We are reconvening the council meeting. Is there any business from the audience? Item number 21. Hearing none. I'll have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Move to adjourn.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Scott. Any conversation? Okay, clerk. No, I'm not gonna do that. Roll call.
Anton. Broom.
Yes.
Deacon.
Yes.
Enesco.
Yes.
Press. Steinbrink.
Yes.
Turner.
Thank you all for coming. Lori, thanks for the extraordinary effort to get her from Hawaii in less than 24 hours.
Wow.
Some would say you're crazy for having done that, but we sure appreciate it here in Gates Mills.
Hey, thanks, Paul. So folks, remember when people ask you about the 3.5 mil levy that was first approved by the voters in 1996 and replacement levy, back in 1996, we used to get almost $1 million a year from the Ohio state tax.
Oh, that's right.
And